The bronze tip of the spear shivers against the rim of a shield as wide as a doorway. Dust hangs suspended in the breathless air of the Scamander plain. The breath whistling in his throat stares into the eyes of a giant. Behind them, two nations hold their collective breath. Thousands of men frozen in a silence so deep it feels like the world has stopped turning. Between the trenches and the high walls, there is only the weight of the spear. Can a man's honor survive the moment his strength finally fails? 9 years the ships have rotted in the sand, and 9 years the walls of Ilium have defied the sea-born invaders. The war had become a slow, grinding misery of skirmishes and raids, a map drawn in the blood of lesser men. But on this day, the sun hung heavy and red, and the Prince of Troy walked into the no-man's land alone, a challenge on his lips. Hector, the tamer of horses, did not come with an army at his back. He came with a call that cut through the noise of the siege like a clarion. He demanded the best of the Greeks to meet him in single combat, a duel to decide the momentum of the age. For Hector, this was not about stolen gold. It was about the crumbling morale of a city that had forgotten the sight of a victory. He needed to prove Troy still had teeth. He needed to show his people that a hero could stand against the tide. To fall here was to leave the gates unguarded, but to stay behind the walls was to let the city's spirit wither in the salt air. In the Greek camp, the challenge was met with a heavy, uneasy silence. Men looked to the ground, avoiding the gaze of the Trojan prince, for they knew the sharp edge of Hector's spear and the fury that drove his arm. Then, as if waking from a fever, 9 champions stood. They cast their lots into the helmet of Agamemnon, shaking the bronze casing until a single mark tumbled into the dust. The soldiers roared when they saw the sign. It belonged to Ajax, son of Telamon, the bulwark of the Achaeans. He was a man of few words and massive bone, a mountain of meat and iron who stood a head taller than any Greek. He was the end of the line. Where others sought the quick kill, Ajax sought the immovable stance. He was the anchor of the Greek spirit, the man who stayed when the world burned around him. He prepared for the duel with the rhythmic, somber precision of a priest preparing a sacrifice. He did not boast to the gods or ask for divine favor. He simply strapped on his armor, his movements slow and deliberate, echoing the heavy heartbeat of a man who fully accepted his fate. His primary weapon was not his spear, but his shield, a monstrous construction of 7 layers of bull's hide, overlaid with an 8th layer of shimmering bronze. It was a tower, a fortress held in one hand, built by the master craftsman Tychius. As he walked toward the center of the field, his shadow stretched out like a dark finger pointing at the gates of Troy. His brother, Teucer, watched from the ranks, seeing the grim set of his jaw. Ajax turned his head slightly and spoke a single line to the men who stood in his shadow. Let the lottery decide who dies for honor, but let the bronze decide who keeps the shore. He carried a small, smooth stone in his palm, a habit from his youth on the rocky coast of Salamis, a tactile reminder of the unyielding earth he was sworn to defend. He stepped into the light, and the path to Hector finally opened. Hector strikes first. He is a blur of motion, a hawk diving at a cliffside. His spear whistles through the air, a streak of ash and fire fueled by the desperation of a city. It hits the center of Ajax's shield with a sound like a ship's hull cracking on the rocks. The bronze layer screams, the first hide tears, the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth are pierced by the sheer momentum of Hector's fury. The Greek ranks falter. At the 7th hide, the spear stops. The point is blunted, the shaft vibrating with the shock of a strike that found no home. Ajax does not move. He does not flinch. He stands like an oak in a gale, his eyes fixed on the Prince of Troy, absorbing the best that Hector has to give. Then, the mountain moves. Ajax lunges. His own spear is a beam of heavy timber, tipped with a head of hammered iron. He thrusts with his whole weight. The spear catches the top of Hector's shield, shearing through the bronze and biting into the leather. It continues its path, grazing Hector's neck, drawing the first dark line of blood that stains the Trojan's tunic. Hector stumbles back, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He feels the cold touch of mortality, the realization that he is not fighting a man, but a force of nature. The duel dissolves into a primal, rhythmic brutality. Spears shatter against the bronze. They draw their swords, the blades ringing out in a rapid-fire staccato that echoes off the city walls. Step, strike, parry, step. Hector uses his agility, dancing on the edge of the giant's reach, looking for the gap in the armor, the sliver of flesh at the armpit or the throat. Ajax simply absorbs the punishment, his shield becoming a battered map of Hector's desperation. Every time Hector strikes, Ajax is there, the bronze wall meeting the steel edge. The impact is bone-jarring, rattling their teeth. Ajax reaches down and heaves a stone from the earth, a jagged black boulder that would take 2 modern men to lift. He raises it above his head, his muscles standing out like knotted ropes under his skin. With a roar that shakes the very air, he hurls the stone. It catches Hector full on the shield, buckling the bronze and throwing the Prince of Troy onto his back in the choking dust. Hector lies with the wind knocked from his lungs, his vision swimming in the dying light. The Trojan army cries out in terror, thinking the end has come. But as Ajax looms over him, his shadow swallowing the fallen prince, Hector finds a reserve of strength that transcends the physical. He looks up, not with fear, but with a grim, iron-clad recognition. He sees in Ajax the same burden he carries, the weight of a people and a duty to a crown. In that moment of shared exhaustion, the meaning of the fight shifts. This is no longer about killing, it is about witnessing. They are the only 2 men in the world who truly understand what it costs to stand in the gap. The struggle has stripped away titles and politics, leaving only the raw truth of 2 warriors who refuse to break. The heralds of both armies, bearing their staves of office, rush into the clearing as night falls. The elders call for a truce. "Cease the fight, brave sons," they cry. "Zeus loves you both. The darkness demands peace." Ajax lowers his sword, his chest heaving, his armor covered in the gray dust of the plain. Hector rises, leaning on his broken shield, wiping the blood from his neck. The immediate conflict ends not with a final blow, but with a silent agreement. The sun has dipped below the horizon, and the law commands that blood must stop. The armies watch in stunned disbelief as the 2 men approach each other. There is no lunging, no hidden dagger. There is only the heavy, rhythmic tread of sandals on sand. The air is cold now, the heat of the battle bleeding away. Ajax feels the ache in his joints, the deep, throbbing protest of muscles pushed past their point of failure. He sees the same exhaustion in Hector's eyes, a weariness that goes deeper than the skin or bone. They do not speak of the war or the thousands who will die tomorrow. Instead, they perform an act of ancient grace that will be whispered about for generations. Hector unbuckles his sword, a beautiful silver-studded blade with a sheath of carved ivory. He holds it out to Ajax, the hilt toward the giant. It is a gesture of profound recognition. "You are my equal. You are the only one worthy of this edge, a gift given in the shadow." Ajax reaches into his own gear. He unfastens his belt, a thick, purple strap of fine leather, dyed with the expensive murex of the Phoenicians, reinforced with plates of silver. He hands it to Hector. The exchange is silent, a transaction of honor that transcends the blood-soaked earth beneath their feet. The sword of the Trojan prince now hangs at the hip of the Greek giant. The belt of the Greek wall now wraps the waist of the Trojan protector. This was the last moment of purity in the war. Soon, there would be no more heralds to stop the slaughter, only the dragging of bodies and the burning of ships. For this one night, the two greatest warriors of the age walked back to their lines, having learned that the most dangerous man on the field is the one you cannot help but respect. History remembers Ajax for his strength, but here he learned that honor is found in recognition. The fire is coming. Soon the Trojan torches will reach the ships, and the honor of this night will be swallowed by the rage of Achilles. The horizon darkens, and the next storm gathers over the wine-dark sea. Walk with us through the old stories, follow the path of the ancients. Subscribe to Saga Weaver, where ancient warriors face impossible choices.